Have you ever felt like you were standing before a single chance that could turn everything upside down, knowing it was now or maybe never again? That's exactly what rushed through my chest on that freezing morning in Germany, when everything around me seemed to be falling apart. I was just another young man without a job, my wallet empty, unable to even pay the next rent, teetering on the edge of an invisible cliff that felt like it was opening wider every day. The city around me pulsed with an indifferent hurry, wide streets, tall buildings, and people going about their lives without even noticing me. Every day I woke up carrying a suffocating mix of fear and a small spark of hope, praying that somewhere I would find a way out. But the news was always the worst possible. The market was sinking, companies were closing their doors, and opportunities were shrinking. I felt trapped in a maze with no exit, where every attempt ended in a no that crushed my dreams a little more. The weight of unpaid bills, the suffocating silence of my small rented room, and the lack of anyone to share my fears with made everything feel even heavier. I walked the streets, watching men and women in nice clothes, confident steps, smiling faces. I kept wondering what they had that I seemed to lack. I was just a young man like so many others, but it felt as if my time was running out far too fast. In the middle of that turmoil, something began to stir inside me. A strange feeling, almost a silent warning, told me there was indeed a possibility, that maybe there was a chance, even a tiny one, to turn things around, even if everything seemed to say otherwise. I knew I had to act, even without knowing exactly where that decision would lead me. The clock kept ticking like a relentless enemy. The late rent weighed on my shoulders. The hunger gnawed at my stomach, and my mind was a storm of doubt. The only thing I knew was that I couldn't stay still any longer. I was about to make a choice that could cost me everything, or give me everything. There I was, just another lost young man in a foreign country, trying to find a way out of a labyrinth of uncertainty. I could never have imagined that this decision, so simple to many, would not only change my path, but the future of many people I didn't even know yet. That day, I looked inside my wallet and saw only a crumpled note, barely enough to buy a decent meal or a train ticket. I know it sounds crazy. I was hungry, every step was a painful effort, but something was pulsing inside me, almost screaming, reminding me that maybe that ticket was the only crack left to transform everything. There was a lecture happening in a nearby city. People said the man speaking there had already changed many lives, talking about money, courage, about how to change your mindset. That was exactly what I needed to hear, but it was also exactly what my pocket couldn't afford. I stood in front of the ticket machine, staring at the price blinking on the digital screen. My hands were sweating so much I almost couldn't hold the coins. It felt like I was standing at a crossroads that could define my whole life. Buy something to eat and try to survive one more day, or get on the train and maybe rewrite my future. The doubt tore me apart inside. Reason told me I needed to feed my body, that all this was nonsense. But a quiet voice, almost imperceptible, whispered, "What if this is the only opportunity you'll ever have?" I had never felt so divided. I knew that whichever choice I made, there would be no way back. Either I would lose myself completely, or maybe I'd find something that would change my life forever. I ended up making the craziest decision of my life. I shoved the note into the machine and bought the ticket. And the second I heard the sound of the gears swallowing my money, a chill climbed up my spine. Inside the train, the rocking of the carriages swayed me back and forth as I stared at the scenery racing past the window. My eyes burned from holding back tears. My stomach protested with sharp pains. I had nothing left, no coins, no food for the next morning, just that ticket in my hand and a thin thread of hope. The journey seemed endless. The sound of the rails, so repetitive, hammered at my thoughts, asking me if I had gone mad, if all this wasn't just a fantasy. I felt ridiculous, spending my last cent to listen to someone talk while people who didn't even know I existed went about their lives as usual. When I got off the train, the cold wind cut into my skin. I walked through unfamiliar streets until I reached the auditorium, holding my stomach that felt like it would double me over. Every step cost me strength. I saw a sea of well-dressed people, smiling, talking about business and achievements. I felt like a stranger among them, as if I didn't belong there. More than once, I thought about turning around, going back to the station, disappearing, pretending none of this had ever happened. No one would know. I could save myself from the embarrassment, but something inside me kept me rooted. A voice insisted, "You came this far. Don't walk away now." I was standing in line, shivering from the cold, feeling the weight of every glance around me. Fear was consuming me inside. I was afraid of fainting, afraid that my body simply wouldn't hold up anymore, afraid to discover that all of this was just an illusion. At that moment, it felt like the whole world was testing my determination. The hunger was tightening its grip in an almost unbearable way. My mind kept telling me I was a failure, but deep inside my chest, a small voice kept insisting that maybe all of this had a bigger purpose. I didn't know it then, but I was minutes away from the moment that would forever change the direction of my life. When I finally entered the auditorium, the lights were low and an uplifting music filled the space. A knot formed in my throat. It felt like stepping into a completely different universe, a place where everything seemed possible. The speaker stepped onto the stage, tall, confident, with a steady voice. He spoke about courage, about choices that change the course of existence, about not waiting for the perfect opportunity, but creating your own chance. Every word seemed written for me. As he spoke, I found myself holding back tears. It was as if he was narrating my own story. Sleepless nights, insecurity, defeats, but also the strength that rises when there's nothing left to lose. In the middle of the presentation, he invited someone from the audience to share why they were there. Without hesitating, I raised my hand. I felt my heart race as he called me up to the stage. My legs were trembling so much that it felt like I was about to collapse. I grabbed the microphone and with a trembling voice told everything. The hunger, the last bit of money spent on the ticket, the fear of wasting my time. I said that I believed something big could happen, but I didn't know how. When he finished, silence filled the auditorium. Then, the speaker smiled. That was the moment when everything changed. He stepped closer, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "I believe in you. I'm going to help you start from scratch." The audience erupted in applause. I stood there, stunned. It felt like a door had opened right in front of me. That man whom I had never seen before was willing to bet on me. After that meeting, my life completely turned around. The speaker, Klaus, called me to talk backstage. He listened to my plans and dreams attentively. I spoke about my desire to help people who, just like me, felt trapped and hopeless. Klaus looked me in the eye and said something I'll never forget. "The world needs people like you. I'm going to give you an opportunity." The following week, he transferred funds so I could start my own company. I couldn't believe it. With that money, I rented a small room, bought a used computer, and began planning every step. The first days were terrifying. I had no experience in business. I spent sleepless nights studying, testing ideas, looking for partners, trying to understand the market. There were moments when I wanted to give up, but Klaus always reminded me why I had started. I faced many challenges. Clients who said no, people who called me crazy, bills piling up even before any profit came in. But with every small victory, something inside me grew stronger. The company began to grow. I started creating motivational content, giving small talks, helping people see new possibilities. On social media, our work gained momentum. What had been a small project turned into a movement. I could hardly believe it. Everything started with that train ticket, and now my dream was becoming real before my eyes. Today, when I look back, I ask myself, what if I hadn't bought that ticket? My company grew and became worth billions, present in several countries. Our work has touched millions of lives, but nothing fills me with more pride than being able to give back everything I received. That auditorium where it all began? Today, I fund motivational talks all over Europe. I created scholarships for thousands of young people who wouldn't even have money for a train ticket, so they can hear words capable of changing their lives. Seeing the brightness in those people's eyes reminds me of who I was, a young man who was hungry, afraid, and holding one last train ticket. Life is made